Her triumphs, I took a group of women that didn't believe in themselves, and I just believed in them. Her trials,
I never wanted to go to practice. I was losing a ton of weight.
Her story,
I just put my faith in God and just trusted the system.
Her why.
I want people to see what I did and say, oh, that's so awesome. I'm gonna be better than that. That would be how I hope that this journey ends.
This is Her Why, where we tell the stories from BYU women's sports. Here is your host, Lauren McLean.
We're so glad you've joined us for Her Why, where we celebrate the women who make BYU sports great. Joining me now is the head women's golf coach for BYU, Carrie Roberts. Carrie, thank you so much for being here with me.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is special, and I'm honored.
Absolutely. We're the ones who are honored. BYU is now in the Big 12, so that's got to mean a lot of changes for the women's golf team. What does that mean for your team specifically?
I think we're starting to just see those changes now. We're getting a little bit more interest in recruiting. We're getting invited to some better tournaments. So it's just starting to take hold. At first, there wasn't much change. We don't play a Big 12 schedule. We just have one Big 12 championship tournament. It's literally a 3-day tournament at the end of the year. Whoever wins is a champion. So it's a little bit different in other sports, but we are starting to see some ripple effects in recruiting and things like that. So I think it'll, as time goes on, it'll pay off a little bit, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm. What can we expect from your team this season?
That's a good question. We're a little young. Hopefully we have a competitive group that are starting to kind of taste a little bit of realizing how good they are. We have a lot of good freshmen. You've had, Maria on. She's one of our better players as a freshman. We have a couple sophomores in the lineup, so we're young. And so the future looks great. This season, we'll see. We could be a sleeper in the Big 12.
Like a lot of teams on campus right now, right?
Yeah.
When you were here as an athlete, Carrie, did you ever think that you would become head coach of this school?
Never, ever.
Really?
It wasn't even in my mindset. No, I was going to be a professional golfer. After that, I was just going to be kind of a mother. I never once even thought about being a coach. Sue Nias at the time asked me if I wanted to be the assistant. And I said, I want to play first, use my age and see how my playing career goes. And then, no, I never ever thought it was in the cards. It just, I don't know. I never saw myself as the coach of BYU golf.
Incredible.
Surprise.
And here you are today.
I am.
We're going to get in a little bit later of how you became the head coach, but Let's rewind a little bit. Your dad, Bruce Summerhays, was the only one of his brothers to really pursue golf at a professional level, qualified for 4 U.S. Opens, 4 PGA Championships, but he chose to coach instead of touring so he could be closer to you and your 7 siblings. Whoa. What did that mean to you and your family that's the choice he made?
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 8 kids, and I didn't really understand the situation growing up and what he actually gave up to, kind of be a club pro and play a little bit. And, I didn't realize it till later that, that's quite a sacrifice, to put your family first is pretty honorable.
What kind of impact do you feel like, or have you seen that it's had on your family because of that choice?
Well, I think family first. I think every one of our siblings, it's kind of the theme, not really spoken, but, under the radar kind of a thing of, you kind of put your family first, because my dad kind of showed us how.
Yeah. It seems like you really respect your parents. I feel like you've brought them up a lot. And you mentioned in a BYU devotional you gave in 2019 that your parents have given you some pretty life-changing advice. What are some of those nuggets of wisdom that you feel like they've given you?
And it's interesting because my parents, is as good as a golfer as my dad was, and he actually stayed out of my parents. They stayed out of our business. It was really interesting. I mean, they really, they kind of taught the lessons when the lessons needed to be taught, and you see a little bit different parenting style. Not everybody, but at those crucial times in your life when it's just like, where should I go to college? Like, how do I make this decision? That's when my dad kind of stepped in and said, well, what do you want? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, what do you want out of life? And here's a professional golfer. He had turned 50. He had gone on the Champions Tour, become successful, made a ton of money. And he's telling me to make the decision based off what I want out of life, not golf. Because he was like, you can be a professional golfer anywhere. Now choose what you want out of life. And it got me thinking then it was a no-brainer. I mean, BYU was it. And I'm very happy that I made that decision. And my mother was kind of just a sports psychologist without even knowing it. I mean, she was pretty powerful. Now I'm learning just why I was so confident. And I mean, because constantly we were just being told that you can do anything you believe, and she wouldn't let me. I mean, I remember it. I mean, I remember the day she was just like, if you don't like it, change it. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? And I remember my older brother kind of making fun of me, like, yeah, come on, Carrie, like, if you don't like it, just change it. I'm like, what? You can do that?
Easy as that, right? Easy as
that. You can do that? I'm not a victim here, like, how do I do that, Yeah. And so she taught me just, how to create change, how to create the life I wanted, based on what I wanted. So some pretty good life nuggets there.
Absolutely. Something also that was really cool is your dad retired from the senior PGA Tour to serve with your mom as a mission president in Florida.
Yep.
Did you see that coming? I mean, is that something that you thought they would do?
Well, they always wanted to serve. They always talked about going on a mission. He wasn't able to serve when younger, and they always talked about doing it together. And so we knew it would come. Just, it was a matter of when, and eventually life tells you when.
Life's pretty crazy, isn't it? You grew up surrounded by golf, but you were also involved in basketball and softball. Did you ever consider pursuing one of those sports instead?
Yeah, basketball. I talked to Trent, the women's coach at BYU, possibly playing a little bit. SUU offered me both. It was there. I loved basketball. It was kind of my escape from life. It was just my escape from golf. It just was something that kind of came natural to me, and I love everything about the game. I love it. And I pursued it, but then I was just like, oh, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I have a future. The WNBA was just starting, and I was like, I have a future in golf. I really don't have a future in basketball. And, that was a pretty easy decision. But yeah, there was a very small time I considered it.
I have to ask you because I feel like most other athletes, they play golf, right, to take a break. Like whatever their sport is, they play golf on the side. As a golfer, do you play basketball on the side to take a break from golf?
Well, now I play basketball to take. Well, and I have a couple sons. One's 13, one's 10, and they love basketball. So literally every night we have a little hoop in our house, and every night we're playing pig or horse. And my 10-year-old asked my husband, "Do you think other moms can make every shot like our mom?" Like it's just something that I can shoot. I get hot and I just, at some point I won't be able to beat them, but until then I'm going to dominate horse and pig every night. So.
Hey, as you should. I love that so much. You're just an athlete. That's what you are.
It's just fun. Just fun.
Let's get into your career a little bit. You're a very successful golfer in high school, placing in the top 10 junior world in 1996, in a junior championship golf tournament in 97, made the 36-hole qualifier cut in 97 USGA Junior Girls Championship, and tied for third in state your senior year. So I'm sure you had your pick of schools. Your dad graduated from the University of Utah, which makes me think that BYU was maybe not your first pick or always in the plan. But you mentioned a little bit before, but how did you make that decision?
Yeah, Utah didn't have a women's program, but my dad, my grandpa, my dad, they're in the Utah, Hall of Fame, Athletic Hall of Fame. We grew up going to every home football and basketball game at University of Utah. I mean, my parents still go. I mean, they don't miss a game. They're crazy. They're just the ultimate Utah fans. So I was a little bit hesitant to go to BYU. But once again, it was just as you pursue your visits, it's really like what really is important to you. What really do you want? And as I visit these other schools, I'm like, these are some incredible golf schools. But outside of golf, what am I going to do? And that was really important to me. I was a pretty social person. I wanted to have fun. And I remember my brother was on the men's team, and he's like, "Carrie, you're going to love it here." And I remember, my first week on campus, I mean, I realized, wow, everybody's like me. You know what I mean? Like, this is really cool. Had some great offers, but at the end of the day, what am I going to do? And I wanted a life. So
absolutely.
It was a good decision.
Did your parents ever put on any BYU blue?
Oh my gosh. So I tell this story. My dad, for the first 5 years of my coaching, when he would come watch us, I'd give him polo. He'd volunteer coach, and I was like, here's a polo. And at the end of the tournament, he'd fold it up, he'd wash it, he'd fold it and give it back, say, thank you so much for letting me wear it. And I'm like, no, you're supposed to keep it. You're supposed to wear it. You're supposed to. So it for them to don some BYU gear takes some sacrifice for him. And now my dad, every time he comes to practice, he'll wear a hat, but you'll never see him wear that hat outside of that practice. My mom will wear her BYU stuff when she walks, no one sees her exercise, So they'll tell you they're BYU women's golf fans, but it's a struggle. It's you can tell, that's true love when they don a BYU women's golf something, especially outside of, but you'll never see that.
They show their support in subtle ways. That's what
they do. They are Cougar Club members, so thanks for that. So that says a lot.
Well, you, Carrie, had a very successful career at BYU, winning 3 all-conference awards with the Mountain West Conference, 1 all-conference with the Western Athletic Conference, named Mountain West Conference Golfer of the Year as a sophomore and a junior, NGCA Honorable Mention All-American. Then as a senior, you received the Dale R. McCann Team Spirit Award from the Cougar Club and placed 3rd in the NCAA West Regional Championship. Wow. That's a whole lot of stuff in one career. So from all that, what would you say sticks out to you the most from your time at BYU as a player?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think about it a lot, just the girls that I got to play with. I got to play with some of my childhood best friends, Jessica Garner, Lisa Dernick, I still talk to. Her son's now coming up the ranks. And just the camaraderie of being on, you don't think golf is a team sport, but it's so fun getting to do it with your friends. It's so fun. And we had some good memories, and I had some successful tournaments and won and had a great experience, but being able to do that with your friends and creating lifelong friends, it's special. And that's what I take with me is just, I got to do that with my best friends, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
At what point in your career did you say, okay, I'm going to go pro. I'm going to do this?
That was when I was young. I knew that since I could walk. That just, I had to tell people when I was 5 I was going to play the PGA Tour. There wasn't really an LPGA Tour. And I just told people I was going to go pro. In high school, when the counselor sits you down and says, what are you going to do with your life? So I'm going to be a professional golfer. And he said, well, only 1%. You need a plan B. And I said, no, then I'll be in that 1%. I'm going to be a professional golfer. Wow. It didn't last very long. But, life throws some curveballs at you and you realize, this has to be my life. But yeah, I always wanted to be a professional golfer. There was no question.
You were coached by Sue Nias, who was the first female to win the Utah Golf Association's Player of the Year award. She competed in every USGA national championship as an amateur, along with a whole bunch of other accolades. What kind of influence would you say that she had on your playing career?
One of the greatest lessons I ever learned was from her. She was actually our assistant coach for the first 3 years. Gary Howard was before that. And from Sue, though, I remember as a freshman, I was pretty cocky, pretty arrogant. And when I wasn't playing well, it's a bigger stage, get better tournaments. And I remember I'd get quite upset. I'd overreact. And I remember her getting in my face and just, in a way of just teaching, this is the number one most important lesson you're going to learn is how to control your emotions, and how to just reset right now. And I thought the same thing when my mom told me I could change things. I'm just like, gosh, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? I can't change what I'm mad, and I'm going to be mad. And that was the number one most important lesson she taught me, because then it sunk in and I'm like, oh yeah, she's right. If I can just control my emotions, I'm going to finish really well. I'm letting my emotions, make me a bad golfer. And that was the number one most important thing. I'll remember that forever.
So I'm assuming, she taught you that as a player. Did you carry on that advice to how 100%. Your coaching style now?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we talk about, being mentally strong, controlling your emotions. And I'm a pretty passionate coach. I get fired up, but it's, because I just love to compete, but 100%. Yeah, we talk about composure all the time.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to have more from BYU women's golf coach Carrie Roberts. This is Her Why. Welcome back to Her Why. I'm Lauren McLean alongside BYU women's golf coach Carrie Roberts. Carrie, you became the first Utahn ever to qualify for the LGPA Tour, but you were disqualified before having to requalify. What happened there? Tell me that story.
Yeah. Well, I went to Q school and, it was my fault. We teed off on number 10 and I had someone taking my scorecard that didn't speak English. And I quickly signed my card like, yeah, that's fine. You know what I mean? And then literally as I was walking out the 10, I was just like, I don't think I got that score. Like, it doesn't sound right to me. And I remember just thinking about it and trying to go back and remember. And when you don't start on number 1, it kind of confuses you. And she couldn't remember what I did. And so I went up to my mom and said, hey, what did I get on hole, like 14? And she said, you got a 5. And I signed for a 4. And I was my heart just sunk. I was brokenhearted and had to go back in the tent and disqualify myself. And you have to wait. Well, luckily back then I was able to do another tournament. A couple weeks later, they had kind of a, like if you don't qualify, you go. And I think that just added some motivation to get through because I was just like, no, I'm not going to let this, slip past me. And, I had to turn myself in, which every golfer would do. It's not something that is just me. That's just what's great about golf. You know what I mean? It's an honorable game. And when you make a mistake, you have to call it on yourself. And I think every golfer would do that. And I did that. But I think it gave me some extra motivation to push myself through. Once you requalified, what was going through your mind? What was that feeling like? Oh, this top of the world. I mean, it's I got married shortly before that. People would ask me, "What's better? What better feeling is it, qualifying or that?" And I was like, I'm not going to answer that. But it's one of the better feelings you'll ever have. There's only having kids is maybe the only thing that's topped that. It's that special. There's something crazy about it. When you've worked so hard your entire life for something. And it's hard, and when you've worked really hard and overcome something that's hard, it's it boosts your confidence quite a bit. You mentioned your husband, Corey. Yep. He was your caddy for a good amount of competitions. Yeah. What was that like having him by your side? It's a wonder. It's how we still married. Shortly after, and he went to work for me, and it was some of the best couple of years of our life. We toured around the country. We saw everything. We were thrown into the gauntlet really quick, but it actually was probably the best thing for our marriage. We had to figure things out really quickly. It was just us. Mm-hmm. And we are pretty good at communicating, and whether that's maybe loud, but it is communicating. We're not being rude to each other. We're just figuring things out. And it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't know many marriages that could maybe survive working that closely together. And now it's just like, colicky baby, easy. Bring it on. We did the tour together. So, life after that was a piece of cake. Oh, man, I love it. You worked as a golf instructor in Texas for a couple of years before moving to BYU in 2010. And so how did you originally hear about the job opening at BYU? Brian Santiago called me. Let me know that the position was open, and I was pregnant with my second child, and I just thought, that's cool. You know what I mean? Thanks for calling. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I didn't really have any interest in going for it until I called my husband and said, you'll never guess, what just happened. And immediately he was like, you were going to go for that. It's a once in a lifetime. We can influence people. And I was just like, you're crazy. Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? I'm 20 weeks pregnant with our second child. Like, this isn't going to work, And he's just like, no, you will go for it. It's once in a lifetime. And so, anyways, that's how I heard and went for it. And here we are. Wow. So what was it like returning to BYU as a coach and not as a player? Dream. Honestly, I couldn't have dreamt that it would be that cool. Like, I thought it would be neat and fun to do. And I felt like I had been given some skill sets and some knowledge that needed to be passed on. And I was kind of looking for something to kind of get back in the game of golf. It never leaves you. Like, it really will never leave you. And so when I kind of took that break, I was kind of itching to get back into the game. So I was teaching, but I didn't really enjoy teaching. And I was just like, man, I want to get involved. And then when BYU, I was just surreal. it just was like, holy cow, this is way better than I could have ever have expected it to be. To come back to my alma mater and to coach, kids that have morals and values like me, and and start beating people that we're not supposed to beat. It was cool. It was really cool. It was beyond what I could have imagined. How cool it is.
Well, you've had an incredible influence on people inside and outside the game. And 3 years ago, you were inducted into the BYU Hall of Fame. How did that feel to be recognized for everything that you've done in your career?
Shocking. Shocking. Like, what? But no, it was cool. It was actually, I was quite humbled to be recognized, honestly. I didn't expect it. And when they said it, I just was like, wow, this actually is pretty cool. Yeah, this feels kind of neat, and I was humbled, and it is kind of a humbling feeling, but, neat to be recognized.
Incredible. You mentioned you have a couple of boys, right? 2 boys?
Yeah. 2 boys and a daughter. Yeah.
2 boys and a daughter. What is their relationship with golf?
Minimal.
Really?
Yeah. My oldest doesn't really golf, but when you're working and having babies, you don't have time to take people golfing.
Yeah.
But my boys golf a little bit. COVID helped that. Because that's all we could do. So that's when they really got into it, and they're starting to get into it. They don't love it, but that's okay. They love their own individual sports, but they do it on the side, and we'll do it a lot together. We'll do it more and more as they get older. It'll be a little bit easier for us to just manage life. But no, I have a wedge in the family room that, my 13-year-old swings every night, and I just get a little grin on my face, try not to get too excited. And so just making it fun. I don't care if they do it, seriously, but it would be fun if they, could come out and have fun with me. But no, they're starting to pick it up. It's a pretty cool feeling though when my 13-year-old goes to Hank, he goes to Topgolf for birthday, parties and dominates, and I don't think he hardly even golfs, you know what I mean? But I was just like, there's this kind of proud feeling that he can at least dominate at Topgolf. So that's a start.
He's like, you think I'm good? You got to see my mom play.
Yeah. And they're just like, oh, you should dominate. You're good. I'm like, he really doesn't play golf.
Yeah.
But he knows enough. You know what I mean? So you just pick it up. It's just what it is.
Carrie, what would you say has been your proudest moment as a coach so far?
Ooh. I don't think I could pick one, and people say winning doesn't matter, but winning those conference championships were really cool. That was a special thing to win those conference championships, and every win is special. Winning does matter. And, I don't think I can pick one, but that first conference championship was special. Pepperdine had won probably 14 years in a row. They were always a top 20 team. We weren't supposed to win. You know what I mean? We came up with the young women's group, basically. You know what I mean? I love to just say, if you look at these people on paper, they shouldn't compete. Mm. And it just was so fun to knock them off that first year. And then winning at Riverside was really cool too, to win at home and to have your own player do it. That was pretty, I could go on. When Alex went to nationals and was All-American, that was so special. You know what I mean? There's just, there's little moments. I can't pick one, but maybe that first conference championship that was neat, because you just never even imagined that you could do that,
Yeah. We often ask the athletes that come on about their recruiting process, but what is that like as a coach? Like, as the head coach at BYU, what are you looking for in these girls that you're recruiting?
Yeah, it's difficult at BYU. Obviously, you can imagine the challenge of, but if they're good people, if they work hard, we kind of have, 5 or 6 attributes we look at. And, but really, like, if they're a good person and they work hard, they're going to get better, and I'm not going to have issues with them.
You mentioned that, one of the difficulties is it is associated with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I shouldn't say that's a difficulty, but in the recruiting process, when you're looking at non-members, it's definitely one of the things you have to include. Do you ever have people that recruits that are just hesitant because of that? Like, I don't know about that. Yeah.
All the time. Lily McCauley, she went to Washington State first, and I knew she always wanted to come here, but just that fear. And I get it, because I have the same fear. It's just the fear of the unknown, and you hear a lot of stories. Darn TikTok, paints us really kind of weird. And I'm like, I might start my own TikTok, and pose these questions to athletes. But, yeah, I get it all the time. Just the unknown. What's it going to be like? Am I going to have friends? Am I going to date? Those are valid questions.
Yeah.
You know, and I get it and I understand it. And, you know, but when you find the ones that, you know, it jives with, it's special. You know, it really is a great place. And just, you know, it's a place where you can focus on your athletics, academics, and have a good time. And it's safe and it's fun. And, you know, and usually, you know, at least half my team are non-LDS, and works fantastic.
I can't imagine the pressure of an individual golf tournament. You're by yourself. There's so much pressure on you. I can't imagine the mental game that happens there. You as the head coach, how do you help prepare these women for these stressful tournaments that they're entering?
You know, we've actually done some pretty hard drills that they have to accomplish. We're adding some team things. We talk about it all the time, enforcing a routine, and we try to nail down those routines to where they're focused on the process, not the outcome. And we've started to implement some drills where, you know, like I said, you have to accomplish something. And so it adds a little pressure. It adds some frustration. It should be hard. It requires a lot of concentration. And so that's what we try to do. And you know, we're going to have a little head-to-head competition on Thursday for, you know, the winner gets in the lineup and the runner-up gets the individual, stuff like that. You know, it's just, okay, you know, it's coming up. Let's prepare.
Yeah.
You know, the process, and it's just an opportunity to prepare. And then, you know, once we go through it, we learn from it and try to do better.
And golf can be a grind. And I mean, any collegiate sport, you're putting so much time and work.
Yeah.
And again, I can't imagine the mental toll that takes on you. How do you keep it kind of fun and interesting? Because these are also young girls that you're working with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, I mean, golf is fun to me, you know, and every day is fun. And I can get too serious at times and try to bring it back and just, you know, try to make the drills fun, get into it a little bit, and make competing fun. You know, make you know, like I said, the competition fun. You know, try to bring some joy to each day, and I just love getting out there and competing. And so, you know, trying to just, like I said, make every day fun and effective. And, you know, it's a challenge, but it's fun. When you get a good group of girls, it's easy.
Absolutely. I'm talking to Carrie Roberts, BYU head women's golf coach. Carrie, thank you so much for taking the time with me.
Yeah.
You're incredible. I can't wait to see what your team does this season.
Thank you for having me on. This has been super fun. Appreciate it.
And thanks also to Annie Robinson and Sydney Simpson for producing this episode. Cleon Wall is the senior producer. Her Why is a production of BYU Radio.